Declaration of the Independence is a treaty. So we have two treaties that we are protected by under treaty law. The Articles of Confederation, they have never gone away. They're still here.
Right.
And the Declaration of Independence.
Okay, Patrick.
Now,
Patrick, I made a mistake. I didn't start the recording, so I started it just a little bit of minutes ago. Could you just summarize the status of the International Court again for the people on the recording?
okay. The International Court is the United States Court of International Trade. It was set up in 1789 under the first session of Congress, right after they set up the Constitution.
It's in the statutes. It's in the statutes.
It's in the statutes. And
wow.
And basically, you'll see that, and that is where Chapter 5 comes in the Volume 1 of the Statutes at Large, first session, Chapter 5, and that talks about the forfeiture of ships, vessels.
Okay.
It's back to the owner, okay? And basically, there's 40 sections in there. You've got to read between the lines in what it's saying. We are the owners. Only the living can ever own anything. A corporation really can't own anything. They can try and take possession of something, but they can't own it.
Okay.
They've got to clear their books at the end of the year. Zero their books. Every corporation has to do that. So basically, they can't own anything at the end of the year. It all goes back to the shareholders or the owners of those corporations. People need to look at what they're really talking about. A lot of people do a lot of talking and they don't know what they're really saying. They believe in a lot of stuff that people are putting out here, but have they ever really checked it out? A lot of people haven't.
And they don't make it easy for you to check out either.
Well, no, it is easy in some regards. You just have to go and look in the dictionaries, and more than one dictionary, and then get the true understanding of the words.
Oh, hidden in plain sight type of thing.
That's it. The remedy always has to be there.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now I put a Rev 2 of the affidavit up there, and I put international and national in that document quite a bit. I addressed, and we are the international. The corporate state of, like in my case, Iowa, for the corporate United States, they are the national. Okay. And then they came about in this new system that they're operating with in 1871 when they brought the postal system into this country. The usury money system. Okay. In the old days, and in William Shakespeare's movie or play, Merchant of Venice, the Christian in the movie, or the merchant Christian, was one who is operating in just monetary with no usury. And then when you see, and I told people to get out there and watch that latest movie with Al Pacino in it, especially the trial. You will see that basically just compensation is not offered. Payment is offered twice. He refuses it, just like we tried to do in court. And but they do not give just compensation in return. Now, when you realize what is going on here, they even turn the tables on them in the process. But until you wake up, and we were told to read this book back in school about, at least I know I was, back in uh, middle school or whatever, and I just found it too boring. Hell, I love the damn thing now. In fact, all of Shakespeare's plays
Yes, I agree.
are very heavy into this. Even Julius Caesar, that's why they killed him, because the monetary money system wanted to come in and take control. Caesar wanted just currency.
Hmm.
Yeah. You got to look at these things and then look at the Bible from the same aspect.
Well, the Shakespeare, I've talked with some people about the Friedrich Schiller, who's a philosopher and also a historian, uh, has a theory that the best way to teach physics is to have plays which go into history, and you're really emphasizing that. And also, since Schiller and Shakespeare were very deep in the way they presented history, what we're really seeing probably is a better representation of court practices than we get in any other form.
Right. There's a lot of stuff. And see, the thing is, those plays are documented. They're the plays, the movies, the books, they're all documented in the congressional records or library. Now, if something is documented into that library, you can use that as a reference in any court case.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's
Great.
documented. It's
Great.
documentary.
Okay.
Now, see, people have been going and they've been using all the wrong stuff in most of these damn court cases. They try and go and argue codes. Codes are not for the international. Codes are for the national. You're not the national.
Wow, this is a real new look on it, which is probably a very old
Yeah.
look.
Yeah, it's basically you're operating in the commercial monetary system of usury, or operating in the Christian monetary system of just exchange.
Hmm.
And when they violate the law, just like in the movie Merchant of Venice, there, have you got something to bind the wound when you cut the flesh away? Oh no, that's not written in my bond. Well, see, that's compensation. You have to compensate for what you're taking away. And he was not going to offer the compensations. And then basically, in the end, it was down to, well, you cannot cause one drop of Christian blood to be spilled. Well, there's no way in hell he could cut on a living individual without causing a drop of blood. And see, that's what they've been doing with us. And the scam of it is they're using the postal systems out here by making you a banker. You are a banker by the zip code and then dash the 4 digits that's assigned to you. Check your mail. If you have a bill from a utility company or from the IRS that has the zip codes dash 4 digits, that is your bank routing number to your back pocket bank. You are a private banker. Okay. You're also a postmaster. That is also a PMD number.
Okay.
Postmaster banker. number. Okay. Now, we found out that basically as soon as you do get your SS, your EIN for your estate, you take your Social Security and turn it into an estate, and then you do your Form 56 and Form 56F. Okay, and then you'll go and get your foreign grantor EIN number, do your Form 56 and 56F. You now are the authorized representative for that account. You're also the authorized banking representative for that EIN transmitting utility number. And this will come into play in the international bill of exchange, because you're going to be signing both as the banker and as the drawer. The drawer will be the Form 56. The banker will be the R Form 56F. We send our international bill of exchange into the Department of the Treasury, either at the United States 20220 or at your state capital with an AL, not OL, because the state capital is the holder of the state's Treasury Department. The Secretary of the Treasury or the Secretary of the States for the capital is the postmaster of that capital. The postmaster at the Treasury Department in Washington, D.C., I think is the Deputy Secretary of the Treasury.
Okay.
Not the Secretary of the Treasury, because the Secretary of the Treasury is called out to have different responsibilities in the setting up of the Treasury Department. Not the Department of the Treasury, because the Treasury Department, which was outlined in the statutes at large, first section there, in 1789.
Okay, you make me want to sit down and read all of volume 1.
Well, it's pretty thick. The best thing I found to do in a lot of these going into the statutes at large is when you're looking for something, do a word search in the PDF. Let your fingers do the walking for you.
Okay. Now, all the statutes are online too.
Yeah, I got the link on the group site there.
Okay.
You go in and get all the statutes. Now, here's a kicker. The United States Postal Corporation, okay, took that Chapter 5 and plagiarized it for their own benefit. They plagiarized that into USC Code Title 46. And at the very end, when you get into Title 46, I think it's back about 1,300 or something like that, 1,200 or something, different sections that they've hidden it way at the very end. This is where they try and get you to forfeit the house, whatever, the payment out of your back pocket over to them. When per Chapter 5, it's supposed to be the other way around. They're supposed to be forfeiting it to us as the owner.
Yeah.
Hey, by Chapter 5, you mean Section 5 of Title 46?
No, Chapter 5 of the first section of in Volume 1
Oh, okay.
of the Statutes at Large.
Okay.
That's what they plagiarized and put into the back of Title 46. They took a lot of things out of the real laws and stuck them into that Title 46 under shipping to create the vessels, financial vessels, that they're operating with. And it's all under false registry because they registered our names inappropriately. To claim an inheritance, you always go to the family lineage first, then to the individual.
Okay. There's the rationale. If some men in black want to talk to you about last family name first, that's really the way you want to talk to them about it.
Yeah, it's because the family always comes first. And basically, it's in international inheritance, you have to know what family you're addressing. Lineage.
Okay.
Now, we found this out, and basically, then I also put up on the group site. So if you've got your EIN for your estate, you've got your EIN for your foreign grant or trust, you've got your Form 56s done and 56Fs. You should also have a UCC1 either addressing the estate or the trust that what you have claimed. Now you turn around and you can go and do an international bill of exchange, knowing that you are the international and you're putting a claim into the national bank. So you're coming in outside their world. So you're an international.
Okay.
And I put the example up there of those. You might want to talk that over if you run into some questions on it. But try to think it through. I had this up about 4 years ago in 2010. When I was working with a guy by the name of David Clarence and Tim out of Illinois. Okay. We tried to go to the DTC with. Okay. Now,
So-
David Clarence and Tim they're working with James Madison. They'll be on a talk show tomorrow night on James Madison. You can go and listen to them and see what you think. They really are close to what I'm talking about at all. I think you'll find that they're not close whatsoever. But that's up to you. I'm not trying to influence you one way or the other. I'm just trying to put the truth out there the way I see it. Now it's up to you to make up your mind what you want to believe.
Yes, but I like that idea, Patrick. It's always good to make comparisons. To see what's going on. It's a good idea.
Someone else had a question there?
Well, that's I think someone was agreeing, but one of the questions that came up during the week was these postmasters that you're talking about. Are they the Secretary of the Treasury? And I think you've just cleared that up, and that it's the postmaster is either the Secretary of State or the Department of the Treasury.
Well, for the state.
Deputy of the Treasury.
For the state, it's the Secretary of the State.
Okay.
Okay. That's the chief registrar. for the state. So basically, that Secretary of State is wearing a dual hat, both as Secretary of State and Postmaster of the Postal Treasury Department, Capital Treasury Department. Okay. Now, at the federal level, Hillary Clinton, or who's ever in the Secretary of State right now, is off in a different location entirely, different zip codes. So basically, she can't be the postmaster of the Treasury at 20220.
Okay.
And it can't be the Secretary of.
Okay. Okay, I took the
Okay.
notes wrong then. It's the Secretary of State at the state level, but the Deputy Treasurer at the federal level.
That's out of the Department of the Treasury.
Right.
The Deputy Secretary of the Treasury, I think, is when I went through and was looking at the logic of it, okay, and when you read the setups of the Treasury Department in that volume 1, and I posted that up on the group. It's in one of, I think, the second folder. I know I've had that out there for several months now.
Yes.
The setup of the Department of the, or the Treasury Department, not the Department of the Treasury, because the Treasury Department was set up in 1789. The Department of the Treasury was set up in 1860.
Huh.
Yeah, see, that's a fraudulent one. That's the usury money treasury. And then they brought about in 1920, they set up two funds, a trust fund and a special fund. So they're held within that Department of the Treasury there. The Social Security account number was attached to the trust funds. Our certificate of live birth and other items were attached to our corporate shares of stocks were attached to the special fund account. Now, when you get your foreign grantor trust EIN, that is laid claim to that special fund account. When you do your EIN for the estates, okay, that laid claim to the trust fund.
Okay.
Okay, so now you have laid claim to both of those two funds that were held in the Department of the Treasury. Now you have to come in and start moving the assets out. You now have your Form 56s. All you need to do now is to do an international bill of exchange, but you have to be an international using your name as an international, not as a national.
Okay.
I hope I made some sense of it.
Yeah, it's making sense. I've got to. Yeah, I've got to go read it and then see the documents now and make sure I understand it clearly. But thank you. A person asked about a 1041B. Now they are you using that at all still? You have the only one I saw on the website is
We don't. We as an international do not use any forms.
okay.
Even when we go to this United States Court of International Trade, they have a whole bunch of forms. You go into their site, you can download all their forms, all their rules. Look them all over. They're all covered by codes. The codes do not apply to us. The fees do not apply to us. you have to go back to the first volume of the statutes at large and go into that first session. And you'll find in there, under the judicial setup, in that basically, if an American has to come into court, he can submit paperwork in any form, and the court has to take it and respond to it. No form whatsoever. Chicken scratching will work if they can logically interpret it. See, people, you want to go in, you want to play in their sandbox? I want them to come out of that sandbox and play in my sandbox where I'm in charge.
So we should really learn that not only the Treasury Act in there, but the act setting up the courts.
The setting up of basically, especially the interfacing rules and regulations. And see, we do not fall under any of those codes. Okay. Now, one of the guys, Tim, okay, over there with David Clarence and I was listening to one of his deals. He was talking about Skull and Bones. Said, you know what their secret number is? It's 322.
Yes, I've heard that before.
Said, go into Article 3, Section 2, Clause 2. And that's where you'll find what they have. Well, what it says there is that they see the Supreme Court does not have jurisdiction over regulations. Wow. Now, what do you have out here? You've got the federal codes of regulation, or federal codes, federal codes of regulation,
Right.
CFRs. And then basically from them, a lot of the U.S. codes come down, and then from them, the state codes come down. So see, that's what the secret societies are operating under, is that exemptions of the regulations. Now, I don't know whether Tim actually looked at it from that aspect or not. That you can go back to I think the last James Madison show and listen to what they have to say if you want to listen to half of the other talk that they're setting up a seminar for about $500, and now they're going to show you how to get out of the system. Yep. That is your prerogative. If you don't like the word Yahweh, stay away from it because they use it all the time. And they don't even understand what it really means. Yahweh means you. It's always meant you.
Interesting.
Yeah, you've got to have the faith and belief. And everybody has a different knowledge of faith and belief. So everybody has a different God. Because that's what a faith and belief establishes, is the God. For your grounds of dominion. Okay, I've done enough talking. You guys start asking questions and I'll shut up.
Yeah, and Patrick raised like a lot of questions. You got some questions, guys? I guess they've got to go do their homework.
Patrick?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, this is Larry. Had a question on the registered mail. With the registered mail, should we not be using that on all of the forms that we send in?
No. Okay, when we send in a bill of exchange, okay, and see, we send this international bill of exchange in. We're going to put it under a certified mailing. Okay, it's got to be certified. So we're sending it in certified.
Right.
Okay, we'll use the certified mail number on there. Okay. Then it goes to the postmaster or to the registrar. From there, in the Treasury Department, it goes to the auditor. From the auditor, it goes to the comptroller. And then it goes to the treasurer to issue the warrants. We've had a couple guys get visited because we were trying to do some warrants about 2 years ago or so. We can't do warrants either. It's only the treasurer who can issue a warrant. So if these courts are issuing warrants, they better be a damn treasurer.
Okay. Well, I was thinking, like on the forms that we send, not forms, documents that we send in, like the executive order a claim of false registry. On those, can we send those registered?
Well, I don't see why you need to register them. Okay. You turn around. Now, it's what I did. I took a registered mail label and I put a 3-cent stamp on my affidavit.
Right.
I cut the very top of it off to where it talks about the postal stuff. The very top line, not this next line down. Registered mail. I left that on there. I cut that off and then I stuck that onto that affidavit. I put my 3-cent stamp on there. Then I'm the postmaster, so I can cancel that right on the spot. I made delivery right back to myself. I'm the mailer and I'm the postmaster, and I delivered it right back to the recipient. So I signed and dated that stamp, and then I embossed it. Okay. I signed, and then so you keep the original. Now you can send a copy of that in along with, especially to your Secretary of State. If you do the new one with the international on there, you would send that in there. And then basically you're establishing the fact that you are not one of their national citizens.
Okay, and that's why if you're going to make a copy of the embossed thing, you need to get an ink pad that you could rub over the embossing so it shows up on the copy.
Yeah, either carbon paper or thumper or something like that. There's a thing they call a thumper that you just sort of circle it, you set over your seal, and you just sort of lightly tap it, and
Right.
it will just highlight the raised areas. And
Cool.
I put a new embosser item up there. One of the guys out in California. Okay. I got it up there, and with his new layout with the names that we have, putting our names in the right place this time and coming in as the executive.
Okay.
So if you want to go get that, or if you've already got one from him, you can even just try and get the new plate.
Okay.
They can make a plate and basically it couple days or so, and basically you could probably get it out to you.
Okay, you had said before it really didn't matter what it was on the bosser, but I guess you're saying now it really does help to have
Well,
the
you
right
don't
thing.
need no. down the road. Okay.
Okay.
You don't need to. If you got one right now, just use what you've got.
Okay.
Okay. Let's get some money out of these guys and start getting something out here so we can try and help some of these other people that have been putting a lot of effort into this thing.
Okay. Yes, I really am looking forward to the where the system works so we can help people.
Exactly.
Patrick, I think I may have some questions, but I really want to go study the new material you put out there and go reread those sections and re-listen to the Merchant of Venice, get that straight in my head, and then come up with the questions.
Well, yeah, I strongly recommend that everybody try and get a copy of that latest one with Al Pacino. That was probably the best. And I've seen a couple of the different versions. It was 1984 version, the Venice, but basically that one doesn't. It has some of the stuff in it, but basically it just doesn't drive it home as well as this movie did.
Okay.
And all the actors, I mean, even most of them don't even understand what the play was all about.
I think that's rather typical of actors, though.
Yeah, until sort of like Wesley Snipes, until basically it turns around and starts biting you in the butt, and then oh, now I can see what the hell that damn movie might have been trying to tell me.
True. Yeah, it would be a clue to get him out.
Yeah, all these vampire movies that he did. He was touching on some of this stuff, but basically he didn't see what was really going on. Be very damn cautious when you do come out about ever getting back into using usury or interest rate or having insurance policies or mortgages. You pay as you go. You want to do that other stuff? Stay right where you are because you'll be right back there in probably a worse condition.
Once it is start working, I think it would be good to have some discussions with you on exactly what to do and not to do with these funds. I think it would be very helpful.
I think basically I try to lay out what to do right now.
Right.
And what not to do. Okay? And not to do, basically, it's common sense.
Right. But like I would like to acquire another property. What's the proper way of doing that? Just
You
giving
go out and buy it.
Okay, with the actual cash or equivalent from the account that we now control.
With your real assets.
Right.
You do a barter. You take what assets you have and exchange them with somebody else.
Okay.
Okay? See, one of the key things here is the post office is the de jure bank of the people of America. It always has been. Okay? What does the post office have in there? Depository? Well, they have stamps. Stamps, yeah. Okay. Okay. What's the difference between a stamp and a dollar bill? Not much.
No,
You can use both of them as exchangements.
that's true.
Yeah, they both has the same value. A dollar stamp is a dollar bill. Who prints these up? The U.S. Mint. printed both the stamps and the dollar bills.
I didn't know that the mint printed the stamps.
Patrick, I have a question.
Yeah.
I've heard that Postal International Money Order is real money. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah, I heard it a long time ago.
And see, that's where, and what I'm doing, I was hoping to get it out in the mail today, but I have to put it in the mail in the morning. But I'm sending in for my $10 million to be drawn out of my foreign grantor trust out of the Treasury Department. Have them turn around and send it to my local post office
Uh-huh.
to put it in on deposit
Yep.
in a depository account.
Uh-huh.
I can draw against that. Okay, it's not going to come in as $10 million
No.
in dollar bills or anything like that. But basically,
Credit, right?
it can come in.
Credit.
Yeah, it can come in the credit, and then
Uh-huh.
basically against my 9-digit routing number, I can come into that post office and turn around and do a draw against that at say I think you can only do 10 $1,000 money orders a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Pat.
Yeah.
This is Dan in Iowa here. I talked to you today. Drew, at some meeting a few months ago, made mention that U.S. postal money order had been changed. And I don't remember any details. It's been too long ago, but it was like it's not lawful money, and it had to do with something if it's used in the States or used outside of the country. That could have changed in the last year. Just to let you know, I can't remember any of the details.
Yeah. Basically, see, they're using the postal side of those items. But when you come in and you have your assets in a real value, you're coming in from the post office. You're not coming in from the postal office. So you'll have a or a post money order.
Well, he just talked about some money order and it just changed. That's all I know.
Yeah.
I just don't remember anybody else ever talking about two different types of money orders. We're all talking ones you go down to the post office and buy.
Yeah. Basically, I mean, half these banks don't know the difference between the two of them. That basically, what you're putting into the systems will make a difference, okay? Because they can't, you're taking out real assets and you're putting it into the systems. Is what I'm trying to get at. And how they monitor that, I don't know, but it will be by the internal revenue service.
Does the USPS have some functions that it does for the de jure post office?
No.
Not
So-
here.
So we have to go to the postmaster in Washington D.C. for that, right?
No, where you gonna go to the international postmaster?
Oh, international. Okay.
The Postmasters of America.
Okay.
Yeah, that other guy that's in Washington D.C. I don't know whether he's a real deal or not, or he's just a postal master.
Okay. So I got to catch up to this with your new stuff here.
Yeah, but we don't need to worry about some of that stuff. We'll find out more as we go, but we need to get on the road and get in there to get some of our assets out and start realizing who we are.
Exactly.
So that we stand as we the people.
Okay. Even more work for us to do. but puts us in a good direction.
Exactly, Tom. You're right.
Any more
See if I
questions?
can find that page out of the court document there, but the others are up there. The Department of the Treasury, or the Treasury Department, and that Chapter 5. I cut those out and put those up on the group site there somewhere in the files.
Right, and I like the annotations that you made in there too, because it's not just the statutes, but you're kind of reading between the lines stuff for us.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much, Patrick. This has been
Yeah.
very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Any other questions out there? Come on, guys. There's got to be something.
Well, I may have questions, but you filled me up with purpose right now, and I want to go study the documents again closely.
I know that's right.
Okay, well, when you get that back, the audio there, I'll try and convert that again.
Well,
And,
I'm going to give it a whack. You sent me the URL for that, and I'll
Okay.
go see if I can do it. And if I have problems with it, I may ask, or I may just give it to you. But still
I
ask so I
shrink
can
it
do
down
it.
just about as much as I can on there when I do make those audios.
Okay,
But,
I'll give it a
Right.
I have
try.
a question, Patrick. I have a question.
Yeah.
This is Queen Carter from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I remember you were saying something that you was going to put up another format of the UCC. Did you do that? Or did
I don't think I ever did post that other one up, but I
Okay.
think I had one up there for the estate and one up for the trust there before. When you do this, just make sure that it's a secured party. You put your name down in the right format.
Okay. Well, can you
Okay.
repost that thing? Because I don't. Well, probably have to repost it. So you did one for the. You said you did one for the secured party. I mean, one for the estate and one for the what?
Yeah, you can either do it for the estate or as long as you got one of them in there,
Okay.
the estate or the trust, try
Okay.
and go with that. Okay.
Okay. Well, can
And
you
then-
post that again?
Well, I think it's up there either in the first or second folder.
Okay.
I'll check tomorrow or something.
Okay.
Okay.
See what I
You
find.
did. I think you did post a revision sometime in the past week.
Oh, you did?
Well,
I ain't see it.
Yeah, it might have been a month ago or so.
Okay.
I did
I ain't see
anything
it
on
up
that.
there.
Okay. Now I download all the files as they come and put them in the equivalent directory system, so that I can use the Windows search function to find things. It's much easier than trying to find things on the Yahoo site.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you.
Hello,
very-
Patrick.
Yeah, all this stuff. Basically, we were so close 4 years ago, and now I can see one of the stories that I referenced in 2009 when I was talking to on a talk show that this guy Tim and I were doing. I was telling the story about that I'd heard about this guy. I think this was the one. There was the one in Texas. This one was about a young man going into the Secretary of State's office out in Denver or Colorado
Okay.
and being able to get access to his funds. Well, see, that makes all the sense. If we go into the Secretary of State with our international bill of exchange as an international, that we would get, and he's the postmaster, he has to post it into the Treasury because he is the registrar of the Treasury Department. He's the starting point.
I had heard a story. I had heard a story that someone in Michigan who needed a serious operation I had a friend who knew the person, went to the hospital and with his birth certificate, and the hospital used his birth certificate and not only paid for the operation, which he couldn't otherwise afford, but put him up in a very expensive penthouse and gave him anything he wanted plus some cash back.
Because they were able to utilize that. They could turn around and rate the charge off to the state.
Yeah.
Right.
To the state treasury.
Yes.
And in fact, I planned sometime in the next week, because I'd like to get some dental work done, is going down to a Creighton here, which has a dental school connected with the hospital, and see if I can get them to do it that way. Just try it out.
You could try it. But I would get that international bill of exchange in.
Okay.
Try and get some of that going.
Okay, yes.
I have a question, Patrick. I
Yeah.
have a question. I know people have been talking about this black card and all this stuff, a couple of last year, 4 years ago, and all this, and people talking about some of them got this card. And with the information you just gave us about international bill of exchange and how we not being on it with the example you put up and with your example and the credit, which is you asked for the credit of 10 million. I said, well, hell, maybe that's where the black card come in, put in the black card. You use that black card. That's what I think for with that. But people were talking about the black card. Have you ever heard of that? The black card?
Oh yeah, but most of the black cards that were coming out from the Federal Reserve or from that side, from the dark side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would be more inclined to accept a green card.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, Patrick.
Yeah, I want the money.
And you could get the international bill of exchange deposited into your green card?
Well, that's what I don't know. I'm gonna
Okay.
try and find out.
Try
Okay.
and find out. Okay.
There's several things that basically can start once you broaden out in your understanding of what capabilities you have now as an international, that you keep it in the honest monetary system. You don't play any of these damn well, if you want to go to Vegas and have a fling, go ahead. But basically, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Okay, the old saying. Okay. Now, stay away from all other usury, all other interest, all insurance policies.
Okay.
You got enough assets, you don't need to have insurance.
Exactly.
And you're not under statutory laws. So you don't need to have your insurance. And basically, we might end up getting, you'll get different passport and probably a different ID card exempting you from everything.
Okay.
So we can travel. Because are we
Yeah.
going to have to get rid of our old passport?
Yeah, and I think just as soon as you probably do this the first time with that Secretary of State and put that in, basically something's going to happen right then and there. You're going to be out of the system because you just proved to them you know what the hell's going on.
Exactly.
Great. Any more questions?
Patrick,
Go ahead.
I have a question.
you said hello?
One at a time.
You said there's no stupid questions, but just this is for like trying to come out, and you haven't really you're still assimilating it, and but your registration for the car has come up. Could I just ask how you would from a sort of beginner's point of view, and
Well,
that and the insurance?
Do you have your estate EIN yet?
No, I don't.
Okay. Basically, I would turn around and they sent the bill to you. I would turn around and send it up to them. Okay, that is a responsibility, and you would try and address that to the Secretary of State that this bill is an obligation of the state treasury to make
Okay.
the payment. Okay,
Okay.
you want your just compensation. Okay,
Okay.
you're not going to pay the bill. You're refusing, and see what they do. They have set up this postal entity, dead entity out here, commercial U.S. citizens or state of Iowa citizens, as a postal employee.
Hmm.
Now, as a postal employee, he's essentially dead because postal ends in AL, after life.
Right.
So he's dead. Well, they can only operate with him if he appears to be alive.
Right.
You have to give him life. So if you're paying for it out of your back pocket, you're giving him life. But
Right.
when you come in as the executor or the lawful individual, and that's why you need to try and start getting into getting these EINs for the estate and for the trust and the Form 56s and everything out here. And you can't sit on a fence any longer. You need to start moving. Okay.
Okay, so you need to do those first. You need to do those first is what you're
You
saying.
need to start working on them, but you can turn around and submit that up to them and say, no, you sent this to the wrong bank. This is really an obligation of the Treasury State Capital Bank under their zip code -9998. Their PMB
Okay.
number.
You can only do that after you've done the
No.
EIN.
You can
Right.
do this right now.
You need the state
Okay.
EIN at least.
Yeah,
And
I have to do
that
No,
was
you don't need to have the EIN.
oh, no kidding. Okay.
No, just send it in. Say, I refuse to give my consent for the payment of this. This is an obligation. You're using my vehicle. Okay? They're writing bonds against that vehicle. Okay? So basically, whose obligation is it to pay the license?
Ah,
It's theirs, not yours.
okay.
They're getting the benefit out of it, the vast majority of it. And that's what I told the Secretary of State, the Treasurer, or the Attorney General's office about 3 years ago. I sat there, they said, I got this tax bill. I want this thing settled. Well, we can't do this. Well, I said, I ain't paying the damn thing until I get payments from it to make the payments. So you can either settle it or basically whatever. But I ain't doing shit with it. And I haven't done shit with it for over 3 years. I kept trying to send it back to him. Said, here,
Yeah,
this
because
is your obligation, not mine.
yeah, because if you do, you're really acting like an executor days on tort. You know, instead of them doing it. You're right.
Yeah. You're just hanging around in the cemetery too damn long.
Yeah.
Get out there and enjoy life. Let the dead bury the dead.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank
They're the
thank
dead
you.
employees. They're supposed to take care of the dead. I mean, how many of these things have we heard over and over again? Well, the
Yeah.
Secretary of State's wearing two hats. Oh, now I can see how the Secretary of State's wearing two hats. Basically, at the state level, one is as a postmaster, the other hat is Secretary of State. Now it fits. They just have to keep feet in the bush until they can get the rabbit to come out.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Patrick, this is Tracy. I have a question to ask. I know that you were telling us that one of my friends that we kind of talked to you before about this, and he keeps saying as president when we send our thing back to them saying that they are supposed to make the payment. Will they open up your mail? That my friend Louis keeps saying that that's a postal. They're not supposed to open up that other people's mail.
Now, what was that again?
I don't understand the question.
When you're sending back your mail, like if you're like when you're changing your address and you're not supposed to be paying the bill, isn't that are they allowed to open up another person's mail?
You're sending the bill back?
If you're not paying your bills, if you're telling them that they're supposed to pay your bill.
Well, you're not gonna. You got to send the bills back. You've got 3 days to reject that. See, they're treating you as a bank. You have 3 days as a bank to reject that bill. See, you're operating under banking law now when they send you a bill.
Like, but we send it back to the people to the company or the corporation that send it to us, or we send it to the church.
You can do it either way. You can forward it up to the Treasury Department or send it back to the utility company. But one thing you ought to do right now is contact all your utility companies or places that are sending you the bills, like clerks of the courts, whatever, and say the correct address for this National Patrick DEVINE really is the bank that you want to charge to is up the state capitol. It's not my back pocket, it's up there. Now, you send all future mailings up there and you file a 3575 form with the post office. Now, if they do not comply, there is a postal place, and I think I posted a letter that I got back from the post office up on the site.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, and basically the address is there to contact that computerized the change of address security division up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So you can contact them directly.
So basically, when we forwarded it back to them, we're stating that,
You're not the right bank.
fucking couldn't care of.
Yeah, you're just not the bank that's going to pay this bill.
Okay, and then one more other question. I noticed when cause I've done my SF4 for my state and my foreign grant for a track, and now I'm in the process of doing the correction on the form.
Right.
Now I see that you have an example for the SF4 for the estate, and I was wondering with the trust, I'm reading over it and I'm making the corrections, and I noticed that you were saying I need to go to the Capitol Postmaster that's in Philadelphia.
Well, it's not necessarily Philadelphia. Supposedly, we found out that the international IRS international office has moved out of Philadelphia and it's moving to Cincinnati.
Oh wow! Get out of here!
Yeah, there's something massive getting ready to take place on the East Coast.
Wow.
So they moving Cincinnati. They moving from Philadelphia. IRS, they moving Cincinnati now. Cincinnati, Ohio. They moving from Philly now.
Wow. So basically, we're about to. Okay, so basically, we need to wait on that foreign grants or I mean, where we needed to send the correction up for that.
Yeah, supposedly this was starting to take place back in March.
Wow.
Well, I sent something out to them last Monday. They got a fax in, and one of the other ladies sent a fax in to them too. It was received there at the number that we had. That the next day we tried it, and basically it's been disconnected.
Yeah, the one for Cincinnati or the one for Philadelphia?
The one for Philadelphia. So that number that I have up there in that one document for Philadelphia, don't use it. It won't work.
Well, they have one main fax number. It's all the numbers except for the last four. The last four ones is 1050. That's the main fax number, the one in Philadelphia.
Yeah, but I think even that's been shut down. I think we have to go to a fax number in Cincinnati.
Okay.
And yeah,
So the one in Cincinnati is the international account now?
yes, that's where. Yeah, supposedly it's located in Cincinnati. So
Right.
we'll get that posted up on the group there.
Okay. I thought we were sending all the corrections to the fax. I thought we were faxing our corrections into the Philadelphia. So now we got to the hold on it, right?
Yeah, or just send them into Cincinnati. I think there was a fax number for Cincinnati there before for doing the SS4s.
Okay.
Patrick, can I ask a quick question about state AIN? Someone gave us the table, and I posted it up on the website, and I'm looking at it, and there's two columns on there that I'm wondering about. The first column, it says auditee name, and then it says state of Alabama, state of Alaska. But there's also the one that's very interesting to me is New Mexico. It's not the state of New Mexico. It's New Mexico State Highway and Transportation Department. And it
What
seems,
was this for?
yeah, someone sent all the state's EIN numbers, and I posted that up on the website.
Yeah, the state EIN number. I guess it was Minister George. George.
Well, there's a whole bunch of EINs out here. Okay.
Okay.
In different places. Okay. Don't think that that's the all-encompassing list.
Okay. Because this has the two columns.
Basically, why do you need it anyway? Okay. Why do you need their EINs?
Well, that same question that somebody responded for doing the atonement.
Well, for revenge or whatever. Okay, that's not the only reason you'd want to do that. And we're beyond that.
Yeah. That's all.
Okay.
That's what we credit. They gotta get the debt. They get to be the credit. Whoever held the debt, the credit of the debt. They can't pay the debt for free. They got that's forever. Plus, they got to obligate. When they got these obligations, now we just go to the United States Treasury Department. That's what they're doing.
You're very soft out there. I can't really hear you.
Yeah.
You need to speak up or turn up your volume or something.
Oh, I was saying, I was doing a little math. This is Coleman from Chicago, Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been following you for a minute, Patrick, with one of my other brothers, Michael, and more. Yeah, so I just basically been getting the knowledge from all over, and no one hitting up on this stuff until hitting on. So I was saying, you said she mentioned the entombment, and I said, okay, the entombment, as far as more the EIN number, what you just mentioned, you said we're not doing that for revenge no more. I said, okay, that's why we're not going to do the 1099 up on the bids anymore with the EIN number. Because we're going to be we created the debt because we're the creditors, and like you said, we're going to pass it up to the United States Treasury because they have an obligation to discharge all the debt. Is that
Right.
correct?
Yeah. They're the ones that owe the debt to us. Okay. And when we claim the debt and settle the thing, then basically the debt comes off the books that they are holding.
Oh, balance
Okay.
adjustment. That's what we're doing. We're balancing the accounts now.
Yeah. And we're helping the damn country, whether they fully realize it or not.
That's true, because
Yeah.
when we do that, it comes off the national debt, doesn't it?
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
that's right. You see 31, 30. So
Yeah,
that
but
part
see,
is like
these guys are on the other side of the fence looking back and say, well, basically, yeah, you take that away from us, you're not paying the taxes. We don't owe any taxes. We're
Exactly.
getting the corporations to pay their damn taxes. They're the ones that owe the taxes.
Yeah, because they don't report none of the taxes. They don't report none of the taxes on when they take anything from the estate. That's why you
Yeah.
have to enforce the tax. You have. They say
That's
that
why
about
we have to come in and basically then during the audit, the auditors have to balance the books.
Exactly.
And they will go after those other rogue outfits that are basically out here, the bankers and the attorneys and everything else, the courts that have been robbing us out here, putting false liens and everything else against us.
So who do we report to? The CIG?
Well, basically, when we come in and start claiming, and under that chapter 5 of that volume 1 of the statutes at large one, we go into this United States Court of International Trade and demand the forfeiture of our financial vessels. They have to clean it up and give it back to us as the owner. See, only the living can own anything. And we just have to prove that we're the living.
That's right. The corporations can't own corporations.
That's right.
Can't acquire anything.
Exactly. Yeah, because at the end of every year, they have to zero their books.
Exactly. Right. So they're locking us up. We're debt slaves, as you say. They're locking us up for falling in dishonor and not holding an agreement to being the actual heirs of the world and carrying out the banker task. We told, like you said, we're bankers. We're supposed to be banking. We out here signing documents like we know what we're doing. Exactly. So, yeah, I got homework to do.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, I mean, be very leery of some of these other deals that some of these people are trying to do. Okay. We've got a post office system here that has been operating for well over 200 some years. We just haven't operated it properly, but it's still the best system going. We don't need to go with diplomatic or UPU mail or any of that other stuff. The UPU is the universal postal system.
Right.
Okay.
It ends in AL also. Okay, so anything that ends in AL, be very leery of it. Judicial, general, well, not international, but basically national, out here. But we are an American citizen, and we are protected by treaty. And we have two key treaties that we're protected by. One is the Declaration of Independence. The other is the Articles of Confederation. Exactly. They were not a constitution. They were a treaty.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Constitution was a charter to set up a government that we the people stood over. So we've let them slip in the back door, and we were warned about this numerous times over throughout the Bible, over and over again, by William Shakespeare in the movie Merchant of Venice. In this country, this was supposed to be a Christian country, not a postal fury or Jezebel usury money system. Exactly.
So, Patrick, I had did some I had moved a little bit ahead. I got to take steps back now that I'm listening to you and I see what you asked me to set up about the post office registry and what you're telling me what to do now. I had general delivery. I had made with the estate. I had made all the mail going general delivery to the estate. And
Well,
now I'm
basically,
looking now. I shouldn't did anything general registering.
well, basically, yeah, you can basically just sort of back out of that and try and get back to your. You need to have a bank. As a banker, you need to have a address that you receive your mail in care of that address. Okay, that grave. Okay, that gravito or whatever it is. The street address. Okay, and basically that's because who's delivering the mail? A bunch of dead people, postal employees. So they're all dead.
Yes, they are.
Even though I know a couple of them that are alive. Okay, and but that's what they treat them as, dead employees. That's why you have a postmaster general, because he's over the dead employees. Just like when I was in the service. First, I was in the Navy, so basically the admiral was over us, and basically you were always called by your last names.
Yep. Yeah.
That's verifiable. My brother right here, he said he been in the service. He said he always call you by your last name.
Yep. The last name of the dead person. Okay. Not the last name of the living person, because my last name is Patrick. That's my permanent name. See, there's a different meaning for what last really is. Last means permanent. The first name, the chicken came before the egg, okay, scenario. The family came before the little child was ever born.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, I understand that.
Yeah. See, you got to have the family first before the little child can be born. But in this country, everybody's wanting to be the little child out in front there.
Yeah.
And when this country was first founded, it was the Cherokee Nation, the Black Hawk Nation, the Arapaho Nation, the Sioux Nation, the Iowa, the Black Hawk, all the different nations were here.
Yep.
Then you went in and found running deer or sleeping elk or wandering fawn or whatever her name was.
You're right. Yep. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay. I have some guys running around here with the feds, and they're claiming to be some type of Moors descent or something like that. And they're doing things sort of like us.
Well, as long as they're trying to operate with just currency of exchange, they're welcome in my world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The ones that are the following the Quran over there in the Middle East. Those guys that are following Muhammad. Those guys know that basically they are not to use usury.
That is so true.
Yeah. They're following the true law. We as the Christians, supposedly in this country, are following the wrong law. Jezebel's gone to the dark side.
You're right.
Now you can see how the movie Matrix and Star Wars and Star Trek and everything else is coming into play, trying to tell us some of this stuff. Okay, I probably talked too damn long. Any more questions?
Yeah, but it's good for us.
Well,
Any more questions? Any more questions, or do you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, one thing I just want to reiterate. This is not about me. This is about getting the proper understanding of how this system in this country is working.
And you're right about that, Patrick.
Yeah. Then when you have that proper understanding, then you will have control.
Exactly.
And then you can show other people too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Patrick, once again.
Okay.
Yes, Pat. It was a good call tonight.
Okay. Hopefully that and like I said, go over those forms, look at what I posted
Okay.
up, those international bills of exchange, and we're gonna run with that. I was sending one into the state and one into the federal, but the problem was they won't get the state one until Wednesday morning. I think Wednesday afternoon, everybody at the state capitol will be taking off for this 4 or 5 day 4th of July weekend. So nothing out of these. Either one of them will probably be accomplished until maybe next week at the best.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I really liked your document, the flow chart of actions required. So I think we, in connection with.
Oh yeah, that I was supposed to bring that up when we first got on the line. That
Okay.
everybody should sort of go through that and sort of question that, mark it up as you go through. Okay, and
Yeah, we should keep revising it as you make these changes, because the changes really are necessary as you find out new things.
yeah, I'll try and get an updated rev on that.
Okay.
Even though a lot of people basically, well, I get tired of all the res you're doing.
Oh, they're absolutely necessary.
Very necessary.
Yeah.
Everybody need to study and learn this stuff. Come on with that. They gotta, got to before. They gotta study. What's the sense of just doing stuff? You don't know what the hell you're doing and learn what stuff is about. You gotta be mindful. You gotta have knowledge of stuff. So, see, if you want to be a banker, you gotta act like a going clever. That's what they say. They used to tell me. Either you're a debtor or a credit. If you're a credit, you gotta act like one. If you're a credit, you stay like you are. That's what they told me a long time ago.
And we also use flow charts, so when we add our own notes to it, to give ourselves our own direction so that we know clearly what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you very much, Patrick.
Okay,
Very enlightening.
We'll catch you down the road there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, have a good weekend holiday. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
See you guys.
Peace and love.
Okay. Thank you.